Welcome, everybody, to Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal podcast where we are going to talk about all things spooky, creepy, macabre, strange, and everything in between. I'm Taylor,
I'm Nick.
and this is going to be a podcast where we unveil the paranormal. So basically, we're going to be taking deep dives into all things ghost stories, urban legends, cryptids, conspiracy theories, and everything like that. So we just wanted to release this first episode as kind of an introduction to who we are and what our podcast is going to be about. So we hope you guys enjoy taking this journey with us. We're still kind of figuring this whole thing out a little bit, but we're doing it. We're doing this thing. So I'm Taylor. I've been into like the creepy stuff for pretty much my whole life. I grew up
The creepy stuff.
the creepy stuff. I grew up, just loving all things spooky. As a kid, I was just like obsessed with like haunted houses and stuff. I was always too afraid to go into them, but I always loved them.
Of course, yeah.
Like I remember going trick or treating in my neighborhood, and the person in the back, having like the driveway went up to their house. It goes into their garage, and then they had like the side door, and their driveway just being like like tent, like they had like a big tent and stuff over it,
Yeah.
and they had like the entrance, and like you just seen like flashing lights and fog machines and people dressed up and people screaming and everything like that. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. I am not going in there. But as you get older, you start to appreciate that kind of stuff more, and dug into figuring out the paranormal. One of my favorite shows is Ghost Hunters. Have a lot of respect for like Jason Hawes,
Yeah.
Steve Gonzalez, Grant Wilson. Those guys kind of got me into figuring out what's after this life in a way. Finding out some interesting stories to tell you guys, especially from this area, which is the Western Maryland area. We're close to Gettysburg, Antietam, Harper's Ferry. We're kind of in like a prime hot spot for a lot of ghostly tales.
Oh yeah. What?
What about you, Nick?
I would say that I've always been drawn to like more of the cryptid aspects of like the creepy stuff, as you like to
Yeah,
say.
creepy stuff.
The creepy stuff. I've always been obsessed with aliens.
That's
I've always been obsessed with aliens ever since I was a kid.
And to be fair, we have known each other since second grade, so we've
Yeah,
experienced these things together
yeah,
for
for
a long
sure.
time. We've been talking about this stuff for forever.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember a little kid watching the X Files, and like it was just like cryptid central on that show, and like if it wasn't the Jersey Devil one episode, it was like aliens the next. If it wasn't that, it was like crazy conspiracy theories and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And then it just as the show progressed, it just got crazier and crazier with the government cover ups and
yeah.
of the Loch Ness monster. I remember as a kid being obsessed with like the Loch Ness monster too. It's like
You've always, man, I'm with you. I always loved the Loch Ness monster.
it's so great. It's a simple cryptid. It's just
It's
like
just one of those classics.
it's just exactly
It's always there for
Bigfoot.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bigfoot is another one that it's
yeah.
just like us doing this podcast. It's super exciting for me because it now gives me like an opportunity to really like devote time to like this topic of like cryptids, conspiracy theories. Because like I said, I've always been like obsessed with this stuff. So now we have like an avenue to really explore this.
And be
This
creative in the process.
exactly like create some new content, discover new cryptids, new conspiracy theories, new things about ghosts that we've never even like heard of before. So
Even considered.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to like what will come out of that, which is pretty neat. Any specific things you want to cover while we do this podcast? Anything that comes to mind as far as like ghosts, cryptids, conspiracy theories?
Yeah, definitely. I'm super looking forward to. I know we're gonna have it on the docket. Ghosts of Gettysburg. That's gonna be one of my favorite subjects to talk about. There's so much there in terms of just things we could talk about. We could probably do 10 episodes on just Gettysburg alone. I know a lot of stories about Ghosts of Gettysburg. I'm definitely looking forward to figuring out more local ghost stories,
Yeah,
like Antietam and Sharpsburg,
yeah.
Harper's Ferry, Charlestown, Shepherdstown.
I was gonna say I want to see like all the buzz, but like you had mentioned to me that like Shepherdstown is actually like one of like the most haunted places in
Yeah,
like, the United States. Is
yeah.
that what it
They
is?
have a TV show of Ghosts of Shepherdstown. Like they have, it was got so bad at one point that the local police actually enlisted a paranormal investigation team to like help civilians because they were getting so many calls about things happening in their houses. I don't know how much of that was just TV and how
Yeah,
much of it was true. Definitely want to look into into that,
That is crazy. I would have never. I've gone to
right?
Shepherdstown like hundreds of times. I've never.
I had no idea that it was such a hotspot.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you do have like, it depends on how much you read into certain theories, what you would choose to believe or not.
Sure.
You got the Potomac Rivers right there,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
running water, certain kinds of stone and stuff like that that can generate energy, hold energy, stuff like that.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
so it just depends on what you subscribe to in your terms of beliefs on what ghosts are
Yeah,
and what they're not,
that's
and
fine
what certain properties can do to ghosts.
for sure.
So I don't know if Shepherdstown was just built on a metric ass load of limestone or whatever, whatever holds ghostly energy.
Oh, these guys here. It's gonna be a hot spot for ghost activity.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna try to keep this really light. We're gonna try to make it funny. We're gonna be just goofy because that's just who we are. We're not gonna try to be anything that we're not. We're not gonna claim to be experts on any certain topics. Maybe some will know more about others, but our job is just kind of to convey some interesting takes, some interesting stories that we find, and just kind of do it in the way that we know how to. And that's just two lifelong friends just chopping it up.
Pretty much. Of course, we'll try to find credible information.
Reliable sources. We're gonna, like
Rely.
I said, we're gonna do our research. We're not just gonna go into these things blind and just make up stuff as we go. We'll definitely look into stuff. We'll cite our sources when we need to. We'll take things seriously when we need to. Like we're not gonna try to make light of bad situations or anything like
For
that.
sure,
But
for sure.
we also just want to make sure that like we just are unapologetically ourselves. So,
Exactly.
like we said, we've been talking about doing this podcast for 10 years, 12 years, something like that. Ever since like podcasts became a thing. We
Yeah,
actually were going to start a YouTube channel like a long, long time ago about some things different entirely.
yeah,
But,
but
you
we
know,
kind of
just
been able to
recently
do
we
this
just decided like, hey, we have the time, we've got
for resources to
the
do it
resources, and we've got the interest and the drive to do this thing. So,
for sure. I'm so excited. There's so many topics I want to cover on this show. Like,
which ones are you excited for, Nick?
so definitely, some of like the classic alien and alien abduction
Oh
stories.
yeah.
Like,
That's going to be your wheelhouse.
oh man, like Roswell, the Kecksburg incident, Pascagoula, Fire in the Sky, the loggers. The guy went missing for like what
Yeah.
was it, like a week or whatever, a couple days,
And
and
the
then
guy's like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "Oh, I was only gone for 5 minutes."
or
No, it's
something.
been a week,
It's
man.
yeah, like the lapse in time and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I also want to use this show to kind of dive into things like mysterious places,
definitely
uh,
want to look into haunted places. That's like,
haunted places, or just like, and maybe not like haunted or spooky, but like just bizarre and like
okay,
and strange, like the story about like Hy Brazil,
maybe
interdim-
like the catacombs of Paris and like stuff
yeah,
like that.
exactly, yeah, like like just like interdimensional places, that kind of thing. Yeah, the list goes on. I'm so pumped for the show. So
And we also like to extend the invitation that if you have any creepy things in your town or local ghost stories or local cryptids or anything like that that you really want to hear us cover, dive into, and hear on the show, drop us a line. Tell us your stories. Tell us your local urban myths, your local legends, anything like that. Any particularly places that you find spooky or scary or anything like that. You can find us on Shadows and Sightings, a paranormal podcast on Facebook, Shadows and Sightings Pod on Instagram, or just send us an email, shadowsandsightings@gmail.com. Looking forward to just diving into all of these spooky, creepy things.
absolutely, it's gonna be a fun ride. Looking forward to it.
So I hope you all will enjoy it as much as we have fun making it. Our first episodes are going to be about the Jersey Devil, the ghosts of Gettysburg, and we're going to talk a little bit, I think, in the third episode about the Roswell incident.
Yep, yep,
So we're kind of give you guys a gambit of things to sink your teeth into. If cryptids aren't your thing, maybe you'll want to listen to the Ghost of Gettysburg stories. And then if you like us enough that you want to go back and listen to whatever else we talk about, we hope that you join us for whatever conversation we might be having. So we can't wait to be on this journey with you guys. Here's to it.
let's do this now.